Yo. Back for another episode. Welcome, folks. Welcome, listeners.
Welcome back. We're here yet again.
That's Michael Zabbo
In the house.
rocking my shoes.
Oh, there's a story behind all this.
Well. He's rocking a pair of Asics.
These are not your shoes. They're my shoes. I bought these with my own money. Thank you very much.
You wanted to go with the Hokas, and then you poo-pooed these.
Well, there's a lot to discuss here, Bobby. If you want to get into my feet, we can talk about my feet.
Asics are good for normal people and hobbits, apparently. Wow.
They could be good for all. They were recommended to me through social media posts. Well, yeah, you first. I returned them the first time, but then my wife sent me, I have plantar fasciitis pretty severely for the past 5 years. My plantar fasciitis. I can't make a turn because my plantar is hurting me. But it was starting to really, really hurt me. And she sent me this post, and it was like, the Asics Kayano 31s. It was like the doctor was like, that's a 10 out of 10 shoe.
Oh, wow.
I got the shoe. Didn't really help my plantar fasciitis, but then I saw the podiatrist and instantly solved. Instantly solved like that.
We get more stories apart from your feet, though.
But I'm walking with no pain, which is really good for me. I've done a lot of carrying loops lately. Lots of bags on my shoulders.
Okay, so we get more to talk about apart from those hairy puppies.
Yeah, they are pretty hairy. Yeah, they are kind of hobbit feet. Yeah,
They are Hobbit, 100% Hobbit feet. I've seen
a lot of hair on top of these feet of mine.
We just get done.
We did. We didn't work together, but we were side by side.
No, Mike was texting me all round, just asking me reads though. So
no, he was not.
We didn't work together, but we kind of worked together.
Yeah, he was out in front of me. I was like, what did that putt do? I don't know you saw that green before me. I had a caddy do that to me a couple weeks ago. I got off the course, and he's like, anything I should know about on the greens out there, bro? And I was like, yeah, they break towards the ocean, except when they don't. A lot of new caddies. Pretty funny stuff out of new caddies. I've seen some stuff. I started thinking about, I was looking at some of these caddies, and they were brand new caddies. They were talking Caddie Stories back and forth, and they're talking this slang, and I'm like, God damn, I'm old. I started thinking, I'm like, some of these young guns weren't born when I started caddying here.
Yeah.
On the resort. They weren't born the year I started caddying some of them. It's pretty crazy to think about.
I've reached a stage now where I am actually working for a lot of people who are younger than me, and because I don't see myself being 43.
Yeah, for sure.
I see myself still that it's 2000. There
was a handful of caddies, some new guys. They were talking back and forth loops and stuff, and they were talking. And it was like, I had this 2-piece, and then I had this 4-piece and 5-piece, and I was like, I thought they were talking KFC. I was like, you boys don't know anything. I was like, you need the family deal, the 10-piece back in the day with exercise. And then I realized they were talking about, so the slang when I started, and we still say it from time to time, is, $100 equals a sheet.
A sheet.
These new guys are calling pieces. So, I got a 2-piece, I got a 3-piece.
I've worked with a bunch of new guys, and there's no way that they're ever getting 2 and 3 pieces. I tell you what, absolutely no chance.
This one caddy was saying, Joe the other day, he got a 7-piece. He looks into everything. He got a 7-piece, and they asked him to go the next day. I'm like, once I figured out, the pen drops. Once I figured out what piece it meant, I'm like, get the hell out of here. Yeah. Joe was lying to you. Joe was trying to impress you.
Someone told me that the rookie caddies are selling each other jobs.
That's not surprising.
That's frightening.
Not surprising.
But it's...
Caesar was known for kind of buying jobs from other people.
Was he?
Yeah, he would offer money. And then there's another guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but another caddy told me he's tried to buy a few jobs from him.
That's right. Caesar tried to buy your job. However, I haven't seen him. Around.
I haven't seen. I'm kind of worried about him. I wonder.
I'm not worried. What, you staying up at night?
Yeah, it keeps me up at night thinking about Caesar.
So obviously you want to copy me with your shoes. You bad feet. Dodgy feet?
Well, I told you. So just in my left foot, I didn't realize how bad it was, but for like 5 years, every step I took was painful. And it got to a point, I did a 5-round job in 3 days, carrying every single round. So I was carrying bags, no change outs. These were the type of bags you just carry them, even though they were heavy. They were carry bags. You just carried them because you're going to get paid properly. But at the end of that, I was like, I need to see a podiatrist. Went to the doctor. Got in there, he's like, all right, let's get an x-ray of your foot. Took the x-ray, did have a bone spur, but he's like, that's not what causes the plantar fasciitis. It's the inflammation around it.
Being inbred causes that.
Get out of here. He was like, I can solve this today. I'm like, sign me up, bro. Solve it today. He's like, here's some exercise you got to do. Here's a brace, little foot insert, and we're going to give you a little shot of something. I'm like, shoot away, bro. Shoot away. So he pressed into my foot. He put like a pen down on the marks where it hurt, and he injected a steroid in there, probably cortisone or whatever it was. He's like, all right, we're done. Stepped off the table, put my foot down, walked to my car. Zero pain. Haven't had any pain since. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I didn't know I could be pain-free with this plantar fasciitis deal so instantly. I was kicking myself for not doing it.
How long does the injection last? 6 weeks?
I don't know. I'm hoping for longer, but I'm doing the exercises, stretching the foot. So he said, it should break apart and be okay.
We'd mentioned about being older. You talk about that. I had what we call tendinitis.
Yeah.
I've been going heavy in the garden, chopping down trees, branches, etc. And a couple of last week, absolutely shocking. I've had pain worse than this, but on the right elbow.
Elbow, yeah.
So I was meant to play golf last Monday at a place that the guy's been wanting me to go for 2 years. I finally went. I didn't even take my clubs. I just walked with them. I couldn't
Seriously?
I couldn't swing a club. And right now I'd be struggling to. So it really does suck getting old.
It does, yeah. Injuries and pain. I don't like living in pain. I didn't realize how much I dislike pain.
You can see why old people want to just die.
Yeah.
If this is what it's like at this stage, what you like when you're 85.
Exactly. I'm very happy for the first time in 5 years to be pain-free, and let's keep it that way.
Yeah. I have my notes written down. I was in a really nice sort of roll recently.
Yeah. Good loops.
Yeah. I carry for some Mexicans, though. Did I tell you this?
No, I don't think so.
The white Mexicans?
Yeah. I know where you're going with this because I caddied for that same group
is
the
brilliant.
next day.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is
rattle on.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And I'd been on a very nice roll with people I knew and getting well paid. And
I know it's coming to a screeching halt with this group.
And hi, I'm Pedro. And oh no, and I'm thinking, well, it's either Spain or Mexico, but it doesn't matter. It's 6.5 a dozen, and you could just tell. I asked the lads, because they weren't drinking, I said, oh, do you guys drink? And they were like, oh, we don't drink much like the other guys. They like to drink and party a little bit. We got the private jet up yesterday. Oh, no, that was absolute
kiss
nail
of
in
death.
the coffin.
Yeah.
So it was so bad, Mike, that I got done. The other caddy got paid, left. There were 8 guys. The 2 groups are there. So all 3 caddies are gone. This one guy's paid me. The other one is... And again,
milling around, yeah.
Well, caddies, again, we've mentioned this before. You have your hand in your pocket, and you know the difference between notes and etc. I'm like, okay,
it's a little light,
So it was super light, and I'm thinking, well, that's maybe just from him.
Yeah.
So I hang around, like
especially
a bad
when
smell.
they don't say anything, like, okay, thanks a lot.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So I hang around. I'm just still hanging about another 5 minutes, and one guy, the other dude that I've carried for, he's totting up the scores in the scorecard. Then they all just leave.
Mm-hmm.
I was said to the one that actually paid me, I says, oh, by the way, was that from both of you?
Yeah.
And he went, yeah, why, what's the problem? I'm like, no problem.
Have a great day.
So I knew they were at the resort for 3 or 4 days. And I knew
many rounds.
The same course again.
Yes, yes.
So I called the office straight away because I didn't have a job the next day, and I made sure, I says, what time is that group? There was probably about 5 groups of them, I think.
Yeah, there was a handful.
They gave me the time slot, so I knew that I'm not going to work that.
Avoidance, yeah.
So I was texting you the following morning just saying, oh, what a catastrophe yesterday.
You were.
I was on suicide watch. It was painful. And I then spoke to the wife, and I was asking who, because she works there, and she was telling me who the caddies were.
Yes.
Now, what was the first funny thing was, she told me there was one of the caddies who had been in the job the day before.
Yeah,
which shows you the difference between myself and him. That
he went with it. I was working with him, and he kind of warned me. He's like,
"Oh, this is horrible.
You're not going to get a lot of money. They're nice guys and fun guys, but
I don't know about the nice, but
it depends who you had in the group."
Then she mentioned you.
Yeah, like, oh no, Zabbo got stuck in it. So what happened was
the wood chipper.
Yeah, there's some slow days in there. It's finally kind of turning a leaf now, where we're getting busier and the better work is here, but there was some slow days where I was getting out way late in that. Like my report time was like 2:00 in the afternoon at the week course. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not working at 3:00 in the afternoon. So I would go into the wee course, and I would get out there a day. And then that day I went over to the big course, and I was like going over for a single, and they said, you're in luck. double just popped up in this group. Of course it did, because everybody was passing the job, and I'm like, perfect, I'll get a double and go up. And I mean, it was fine. It was
Gonzalez, Hernandez, something like that. It was shocking. It was dreadful.
You can't win them all, G.
Schadenfreude, you know what that means?
No, but I don't think it's good.
No, it's a word that would taking pleasure from other people's misfortune.
And you really enjoyed the fact that I was on that lip. You're like, oh, man.
Well, I did, because you're like a panhandler. You know what I mean? You're skipping around all the courses trying to
work.
Gravy.
I'm trying to work every day.
Are you still paying that tax bill off?
The tax bill is done. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was done a while ago. I got other bills now, but yeah. So I was talking earlier about that group I had for 5 rounds, 3 days, double bagging. I mean,
graveyard.
I mean, again, they actually, the kids were actually qualified to play the blues. They did play the golds every day.
When you say kids, how old?
So it is the season for graduation. So you're talking college or high school graduations. A lot of father-son trips. And the reason I want to tell this story is because, we talk about wealth and the wealth that we come across, and there's vast, especially in this environment, vast different levels of wealth.
It's like the Gulf onion.
Correct. Layers
of onion.
People with so much money, it's unfathomable. People with a ton of money, which you can think about it, and then people with a little bit of money. Yeah. So this guy, one of the guys, they're from down south somewhere. I'm not going to say, but they
Guatemala?
No. Father-son trip. He was going to bring out the kids are both at private schools. Guy was going to bring out his son for graduation. The other dad finds out, was like, why don't I tag along with you, and I'll bring my son, and we'll all play together. This will make it a group trip.
What'd you get when you graduated, by the way? Plantar fasciitis?
Couple $100. I didn't get a trip to the one of the best resorts in the world. But anyway, so the other guy said, why don't I come and my son, and they're good friends. They play in the golf team together. We'll all come out together. We'll take my jet out there. So, the guy, this is a referral from one of our clients, and I asked you to...
I don't have any clients.
Yeah, one of our guys that we caddy for. It was a referral.
Thank you.
I asked you to come on. You're like, no, I'm good. I'm out. I don't want a part of it. So I got another caddy, and I texted you after the first round, because halfway through the first round, the other caddy, not even, like 8 holes in, kind of got fired. I was like, gee, can you do this job? He doesn't want the caddies. No. I'm like... And the caddy that he's trying to flyer is like, he's a good player. He's like a +2, +3, and knows the game. And he's like, I just don't think he knows the greens. He's not on the same page. Oh. I'm like, bro, trust me, you're in good hands. 2 holes later, he's like, oh, he's fine. But it was just so father, son, and then the other father was like, he was explaining to me the dynamic, and he's like, then I kind of feel bad. Like, I have to pay for all these dinners because he's flying us out in our plane. And like, because you can see the anxiety out of the guy of who he's with. Like, he's with kind of a big deal in their circle back home, so he doesn't want him to feel like he's not paying his way for his family. But they're betting ridiculous amounts. And they're betting 100, 100, 200. That's just their Nassau. Yeah. But they do $100 hammer the whole time. If you know what hammer is, it's every single hole. You can say hammer, and they accept the hammer and they play it out and it doubles, or if they drop the hammer, they lose that money in that first hole. So they were double hammering every single hole. The kids had the cash. Like, they were paying out thousands of dollars at the end of the round, back and forth.
Wow. And
it became kind of not about the golf. It became, they were here to have, play the course and have fun, but it was all about the money. It was crazy. And I saw some of the, 5 rounds with people. You see some crazy stuff. And the real wealthy guy saw some of the craziest thing. He lost his phone at the week course, and you think not a huge deal. I'm like, well, go find my iPhone or something. We'll figure it out. And he couldn't figure out his password from his son's phone. And you could tell he was really anxious about it. I'm like, well, it's got to be in your golf bag. You just put it in there. You can't find it. So he empties out the golf bag. I was like, maybe it fell down. I took out all the clubs and looked. Wasn't in the golf bag. I was like, well, it'll turn up. Don't worry about it. He's like, no, I need my phone. I guess he had something going on. I mean, he left. He went back to the hotel to log into his iPad to find his iPhone.
Wow.
He brought the bag. Thank God I wasn't carrying 2. He brought the bag with him. It said it was within 20 feet of him. And I asked him, I was like, you want me to go through your golf bag and make sure it's not there? He's like, no. I went through the whole thing. It's not there.
It was in the golf bag.
It was in the golf bag the whole time. So he ended up coming back and missing 7 holes. by the time we got back. Because you had to go. We were at the week course. You had to go back to the hotel and come back. It was crazy. People are crazy, man.
That's a real thing, by the way. Phone anxiety.
Phone anxiety. I've never seen anything. And then the absolute craziest might be one of the crazier things I've seen on the golf course. This same dude the next day at the big course, he's walking around. He might want to see a urologist. He was peeing in every bush. He was like your dog. Every little corner he would find,
Squirt.
he would pee. So we're on 16, and he's going for another wee slash near a tree. And I see him walk over there, and I see him zip down, and I hear him go, ah, and I hear something. And I look over, a bird fell out of the tree dead, hit him in the arm on the way down and fell on the ground. It was a woodpecker. I'm like, you okay back there, buddy? I know. I'm like, so what happened back there? He's like, a bird flew out of it and fell out of the tree. It's in. So I walk over, and the bird's on the ground twitching, and his zipper was still down. It was embarrassing. I was like, dude, I've seen a lot of stuff, but I've never seen that before.
A woodpecker.
Of all birds, I know.
It's almost like what was that? That movie. Something about Mary. We got a bleeder. I thought you were going to say
exactly.
that.
We got a bleeder.
Funniest thing ever.
It was pretty funny.
Well, Mike, I had two different groups a week apart.
Okay.
One group from our favorite place in the world,
Texas.
Los Angeles. That was sarcasm. Young lads. And like, how would you describe it if we go to the first tee, you don't know the players, and they say, we're going to play the tips? What would your reaction be, or the first question you'd say?
I would kind of raise my eyebrows, maybe a little frown, a little lip raise, like maybe a sigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, get out of here. You're not qualified.
Because I'll be like, are you good enough? That's straight up. So we were one of the first groups off with the first group, the Los Angeles boys. And you have the starters and everyone, not one person questioning them about handicaps. Are you good enough? Are you really thinking about this? They look at the card. I don't know. It's something about young people, just the arrogance of it.
Yeah.
We want to play.
It's a real thing.
Two of these guys, I think 3 years ago, might have been players. They should have been off the gold, which is one up from the tips. And the other two players shouldn't have been near a golf course. It was shocking. Oblivious to anyone else in the course. So we're first or second off.
Yeah.
And we're 5 hours. So
That's
you can only
abysmal,
imagine what the rest of the day is going to be like. So I had a referral from my boy Hilo out in Scottsdale, and a week apart, and he sends a group my way. I guess he'd bumped into one of the lads, Benny, at Augusta when there was a rain delay.
Sounds
this
about
past year.
We talk about levels of wealth. Here we go again.
So well, this lad Benny, it turns out his cousin is actually a pro on tour. He plays Aaron Austin
Eckroat.
That's the one. I've never heard of her.
Good player.
Said he won twice last year.
Yeah.
So
real deal.
Benny's a player himself, actually.
Nice.
Really good lads. It was him, Frodo, a guy called Gage, but I call him Frodo. And then two brothers, Matt and Mitchell. When I talk about the rain delay, Mitchell is the human rain delay. Very slow.
Deliberate.
But of course, they're teeing it up. I'm doing a 4 caddy. They're playing the blues. And I'll be like, boys, are you lost? What are we doing back here? Because I didn't know how good they were. First time in many years, I've had a group of guys who played the tips, and they deserve to be there.
All of them.
All 4 were worthy of playing the tips.
It's a rarity.
Interesting 4 caddy, because normally you would just go, yeah, bring you 170, 175, move on to the next guy. But these boys were quite accurate. You know, it was. I had to work.
Be on your game. Yeah,
I had to work, and it's interesting how you do that. And I think again, it's an age thing. Now, these boys were all younger than me, so maybe 10 years younger. They don't trust you until you got to read a couple. And all of a sudden, okay, you pass the test, and then
for sure,
they won't do anything. They won't pull the trigger.
We kind of have the same thing with our players. Sometimes they have to pass the test for us.
Aye. Yeah. How deep you go into the wallet?
You want your 175 or your 180 club? You know the difference between those? Yeah, we'll see.
But it was incredible how you had 1 week apart and 4 guys of similar type age, and guys, listeners, honestly, just because the cards is a certain number, think about the atmosphere. Where we work. If it says 7,000 yards, it's probably closer to 74, 75.
People severely underestimate the fact that the ball does travel less here in this part of the country than anywhere else in the world. The ball travels less. There's no place you're going to find where the ball travels less. You hear that, folks?
Anywhere else in the world, and that is statistically. That is what's the statistics here, Matt? Mike.
That is so funny. You just called me Matt because I was talking.
Why would I call you Matt?
Yeah, that 5 day job I was on, and one of the kids, a talking high school graduate, he called me Mike like 75% of the time, but the other 25% he called me Matt, and he did it like all 5 rounds. It was bizarre.
I don't know why I called you Matt there,
but I'd say the percentages are high. The percentages are low for here. The ball travels probably 20% less than anywhere else.
21.7% less.
Exactly.
Someone was ripping on you this past week.
Oh,
actually,
shocking
about you hitting the ball. You and Troy doing the experiment at Monterey Pines with different golf balls.
Who was it?
Well, it's another caddy. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm not.
Oh, tell me. We'll go play. I'll play a Pinnacle. They can play whatever they want, and I'll beat them.
And he's like, "Yeah, you were right. That caddies. I want to see the data from that. Yeah. Oh, we did an experiment.
I'll show him the data. I'll play him with a Pinnacle. Who is it? Tell me. Tell me his name. I'll take him down.
Definitely not now. Do you have anything else, Zabbo, before we cut to a quick break?
Yes, I gotta mention a brief story about that group you sent to me. Our boy Edwin.
Okay,
he sent me and his character cast of crews. I know they're going to be podcast listeners.
Okay,
you told him to listen to podcasts. He didn't listen to one, but I'm sure he's probably listening to now. But the guys he brought were a load of laughs. Yeah, Edwin, Kyle, Garrett, and Billy. Billy's that guy. It's funny to see the friendships that some of these guys have. Like they've known each other since like elementary school, middle school, so they're really, really tight buddies. And it's kind of fun to get in their inner circle for a couple days. And Billy could like hit it pretty far and decent. Terrible golfer, but he could like flashes of brilliance where he hit it far. But every time he would hit the ball, he would just stare at me or stare at one of the players. I'm like, "What's up, buddy? What are you doing?" Can't see it. He's like he said, I have 20/30 vision, but that's some awful. Some sort of football injury, like distances he couldn't see. So anytime he would stripe one, I was like, man, I wish you could have seen that. That was a thing of beauty. And his buddies were like, man, he can't see anything. So every time he would hit, he would look at me. I'm like, man, that's got to be a miserable way to play. But he's like, so I was like, this was after like 14, 15 holes of caddying for him. So I was like, so when I'm telling you to aim at that tree or aim at the flag, where are you aiming? He's like, I'm just aiming out there, man, hoping. Like I was like, wow, so maybe we should pick something in front of you to figure out what we're aiming at. And then like he's a good looking dude, kind of like worked out. You could tell he's a strong dude. And we're on the 8th green at the wee course, and a bee lands on his chest there, and he looks down and he's like, guys. Oh, no. And I look at him, I'm like, and his buddy comes sprinting over, swacks the bee away. I raise my hands up. I'm like, allergic, really? Huh? And he goes, no. He doesn't like bugs. He just doesn't like bugs. Any bugs, like a fly or anything. He's petrified of bugs. And his buddies are kind about it. They help him out and brush away the bug. It was pretty funny, but love you guys.
His last name's Kim, and I said,
Edwin Kim, yeah.
Korean. And he said, yes. I said, I have a few Korean friends. I have a Cho, a Chang, a Lee, and now I have a Kim. And he said, what are you doing? Are you Korean Pokemon?
Kim's a funny dude, man.
Good you can tell.
Actually, a funny one about Kim. So Kim, he's engaged again. I guess he didn't have a great first marriage, and he's engaged. And he's talking about his wife, how like he's like, I got to call her later. She's streaming. I'm like, she's streaming. I'm like, what is she like?
Easy, bro.
Like OnlyFans or what's going on? He's like, no. She's a streamer, like on games, like
a gamer,
like Twitch. I guess it's a thing where people stream their video games they play. She has like a huge following. That's what she does for a living. She plays video games and people watch her play.
What's Twitch?
Twitch is like a social media platform where you can just watch these gamers play their games.
Oh, man.
Crazy.
How bleak.
Pretty bleak, but she's doing all right with it.
Oh, it's sad. That's really sad.
Pretty funny.
Right, quick break, and then it's on to questions. 4! That's too funny. Zabbo just mentioned Instagram, so if you are new to the podcast, there is an Instagram page and all that kind of nonsense, the social media, YouTube, just search for Glorified Donkey. And if you
tell us what pops up in your feed.
Tell us what pops up in your feed. If you have any questions, you can send them in via social media or email podcast@glorifieddonkey.com.
Hit the link in the Spotify too. Send us a question.
Oh,
Send us some fan mail. Get in there.
Fan mail. That would be great. Now, Mike. Don't know why I'm calling you Mike. That would open the door to Matt. I would just call you Zabbo. First question.
Okay.
This was one from Twitter. When you meet your player on the tee, can you tell what kind of tipper they are? If so, what percentage of the time are you right? Brilliant.
Well, as you know,
you love percentages.
I'm no mathematician. But
you're a statistician.
I'd say 80% of the time I'm pretty close to the almost exact number, certainly within $10, $20, almost always. 80% of the time. You do get ones that surprise you when you're like, yeah, my wife hates it because I text her all the time and I'm like, getting, whatever today. And she's like, stop, you never know. Just do your job. And I always do. I always do the same job for everybody. And once in a while, you do get surprised. That's not true. That's true.
You mail it in. You 100%.
Rarely.
You do the same job for every person.
Pretty much. Yeah, I do. I cater to whoever the person is. I give them the caddy that they're looking for.
So a couple of weeks ago when you said that you and Troy didn't fancy it, the loop, they'd been there for several days, and you just threw them in an LV. Okay.
Which loop is this?
I don't know, like 2 weeks ago you said it, and you said, oh yeah, they'd been at the resort for 4 days already, this was their last loop, and Troy and I just weren't feeling it, so we just threw them on the LVs, so they were not getting the same service.
Still did a good job caddying. Yeah,
I would say you were probably at 65% as opposed to
just because
95%.
I was on the LV. I mean,
well, you can't if you're driving 300 yards ahead, you can't be doing the same job because you're not doing the same personal touch. So
you can't.
You don't like being called out.
You just don't like the LV.
I hate them. Absolutely hate them. Shocking. It's the optics on it is very poor.
I agree with that, but I still enjoy it myself.
I don't always do the same job. I'll be 100% honest. But,
I can agree with that.
Those Mexicans mailed in. Absolutely. I can only be engaged if you're engaged.
There's some truth to that.
I can only be interested if you're interested.
You cater to what your player's looking for. Yep. If they're not looking for anything, you don't give them anything in return. So yeah, you're caddying a little different, but you adapt your style to what they're looking for. If they're not looking for anything from you, you give them nothing.
Mm-hmm. There's some caddies. I discussed this with the wife, and she said something about there's some documentation at the resort that doesn't actually tell people that. Basically said to golfers, if you want information, you have to ask the caddy for it, which I think's bananas. That you're in our office, so we'll take complete control, and you have to ask. Because I've been with guys before, and the guys like over the putt going, "Well, what should I do here?" Now, to some degree, they forget how to walk. Yeah. So it's come on, be proactive here, especially in something like a 4 caddy. You can't wait for the caddy on every single.
Yeah, I always feel them out early if they want the reads. As soon as I know they're looking for information, I just go ahead and give it right away without them asking.
That lad Benny from Scottsdale, great player. If I know the guy's a player, you can tell within 2 swings. Okay, he can play first green. Listen, if there's anything you need, just let me know. Yeah. But you're a player, I can tell. Yeah. So, what do we? I would say 80-90% of the time we are spot on. We're socially profiling everything. We do it all. Next question. This is from a Grant Ferguson in Bishop Briggs, which is close to Glasgow, correct?
Exactly what I was going to say.
You mentioned in the podcast a lot about your golfers having a very good time on the course. In your opinion, do most golfers you caddy for play golf more for the sport or for socializing? That's a good question.
I'd say it's 50-50. Here we go with the numbers again. But yeah, I would say it's 50-50. I mean, half of them, most people come here and they want to hang with their boys. They want to drink beer and have fun. But, a lot of them also want to compete with their boys and have games. And they care about the game. They want to play well. That's what drives me, I think, crazier than anything. When people put so much emphasis on wanting to play well that they forget to have a good time. And they have a miserable time. They're out here and they're miserable because they're not playing well. Well, you're a 5 at your home course, and you play your home course 9 times out of 10. When you travel, you shoot 95, and you're out at some of the toughest courses in the world, and you're shooting 100. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, it is what it is.
Back at your home, rinky-dink muni, as Mike would say.
Why do we always have to bring Bolingbrook into this, Dave? I still love you, bro.
This doesn't love your course.
No, I've never been to Bolingbrook, and
But you still call it a rinky-dink muni. Even worse.
Ouch.
Digging a hole.
Why you got to bring up old things?
I think how can you separate, if they're here for the golf, for the socialising, the scorecard?
Yeah.
The scorecard tells us, and I would say it's 50-50, 100%. I'm just planning, writing out some stuff before you arrived about, and last night, the first few YouTube videos I'm going to do, and there's one for beginners and high handicap golfers. One of the biggest mistakes that they make is focusing on score.
Oh, God.
They don't. Nobody cares about your 105, whether it's whether you shoot 90 or 125. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You could shoot 95, and it was a really good 95. People don't realize how good golfers are. You know, like how the pros are, etc., etc. I watched that playoff yesterday at the Canadian Open.
5 holes, right?
4 holes.
Yeah.
People don't realize there was a bit of pressure. They both had chances.
Yeah.
But the pressure is incredible. Like they've already played 4 rounds. It's now getting 7 o'clock, 7:30 at night. They're playing for 1.764 million as the first
ridiculous.
prize. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And people are going, I wouldn't have done that. Of course you wouldn't have done it. You'd never been in that position. But these guys find it hard. So, for Johnny Hack that plays 3 times a year, you're focusing far too much on it. So I'd say in that anyway, 50-50, good time, and then score. And then with some people, they actually hit a better score if they have a good time.
Correct. Agreed.
We got Drew H. from a place called Rochelle, and you know where Rochelle is?
New York?
Georgia.
Oh, I was thinking of New Rochelle.
As a former caddy myself, I know just how interesting the people are that caddies meet. Mm-hmm. What are the most interesting people you've met through golfing and caddying? Wow, how do we
most
answer that in a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole podcast of the different interests. I always find it fascinating the ways people make their fortunes. Like, there's a lot of wealthy people that made their fortunes in weird ways to make money. Like weird manufacturing of certain parts that just like...
Oh, the guy from Texas, he designed a valve and he became hundreds of millions from a valve, and every single oil company in the world uses it.
That's what it takes.
He designed it in his garage.
Yeah, yeah. And that you meet so many interesting people like that.
I had a guy not long ago, and he started a betting company that went international.
Mm-hmm. I caddied for a guy who was just a bookie, and he was like a very, very successful bookie, and like he's been a bookie forever, and he kept up with the times, and then got into the online game, and now he's got hundreds of millions of dollars.
Incredible.
Yeah,
how about a guy not long ago who was the first employee of a social networking company that was not a technician? He was in sales and marketing, so he basically is one of the godfathers of digital advertising.
Mm-hmm.
I was and happy to talk about it and talk about. I think that's the thing that's one of my favorite things about what we do, especially when we do it, is if you get people who are willing to discuss their own life, if they're not too worried about the score, etc. But if the pace of play is good enough as well, because it usually is, you can really get to understand and get so much good knowledge.
Oh yeah,
like even on Tuesday. So I get the problem with the elbow Sunday, Monday. The guy I carry for Tuesday, referral from Scottsdale,
doctor,
arm surgeon.
There you go.
This guy starts telling me about, how about this, right? This is great. This answers the question, Drew.
Yeah.
So I said, how many operations have you done? He said, I think I've done between 45 and 50,000. Like, he'll do things like carpal tunnel, then reattach hands after motorbike accidents.
Real deal.
Things. Real deal. And I said, okay, so you lose a finger, you throw in a bag of ice. He says, what you do is you lose a finger or even an arm, arm. He says, the more flesh there is, the less time you have. So if it's on the leg, the higher up the leg, you maybe have 3 to 6 hours where you can still reattach. With a finger, up to 24 hours.
Nice.
He says,
so take your time if you lose a finger. No rush.
No rush. Take the finger or take the limb, whatever it is. Get some gauze, because you always have gauze in your pocket. You don't wet the gauze. you moisten it, then you put it in a bag of ice. He says, because if you put the finger straight in the ice, he says it kills the flesh, whereas a moist gauze will not. I'm like, oh, brilliant. That's great knowledge.
You just saved somebody's hand or finger, I bet you. Maybe even yourself. Yeah.
How frightening would that be if I would, like, the next episode, hey, that information has saved me.
Or somebody else that listens that figures that out. They say, let us know if we saved you a limb. I caddied for, he told me about he said, I'm a pretty well-known hip surgeon, hip replacement. I told him, both my grandfather had it done and my uncle, and I have a bad hip and I know I'm going to need it done in the future. And he's like, well, I'm probably going to be retired when you're ready to do your hip. But he's like, here's my number and call me. He's like, the advancements in the next 10 years, I will get you the best hip surgeon in all of California. And you call me up and we'll get it done. I'm like,
love it.
Those are the contacts we make, like people like that. Huge. It's crazy.
Huge.
Yeah.
It really is. I remember caddying for a guy years and years and years ago who was a racehorse trainer. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, any tips this weekend? He said, the best tip I can give you is don't gamble. And then he's like, I got 14 horses running today and not one's going to try and win. There's different reasons that they put them in races, just to get a run out, try them at a different distance. He's like, but not one of them's going to win. And you go, okay, that's interesting.
We had a caddy who caddied for the Flex Seal guy like 5-6 times.
What's Flex Seal?
Flex Seal? You've never seen the infomercial for Flex Seal?
No, I don't watch
I
don't watch TV like that.
Dude, Flex Seal.
Is
that
like
guy
the,
Phil on the
the Thigh Master?
Kind of, but this guy was like nuts on the infomercial. You got to watch a Flex Seal infomercial. It's like the greatest thing ever created. Flex Seal, are you kidding me? But Casey used to caddy for him like all the time. I think he ended up dying. He was kind of into the nose candy a little bit. But the Flex Seal dude, I mean, that's no more interesting than the Flex Seal dude.
What did Flex Seal do?
Flex Seal would like patch anything you want. Anything that had a hole in it would patch it, and it would fix anything. Like a boat, you could patch a boat with Flex Seal, and it would float again.
Sounds he should have done it to his nostrils. But yeah, we could probably do an episode. Maybe this is a good.
We should.
It's just of interesting people we've met, that information we've learned from people.
Yes, many things.
Note it down. We'll do it in the next.
That was just the tip of the iceberg.
There's
so many people. Oh man.
Aye. Oh, next level. I'm just racking my brain right now because it's hard to on the spot to.
It is very hard, but now that I'm thinking about it, I got a million more that just came.
Million. There you are with the stats again. I'm going to say 100% chance that you don't have a million, and I will sit here as you go through them all, counting them.
Yeah, probably not a million, but you know what I'm saying. A lot.
Do you have a favorite joke or saying? This from Brian George in Sherwood. You know what state that's from, guys?
California.
That's in Arkansas.
Sherwood,
Arkansas. Sherwood, Arkansas. Yeah.
A favorite saying? Or
favorite golf joke or saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's the old ones that we repeat time after time. Really fast putt, quicker than Oprah on a water slide. I mean, that's a really good. Yeah. That gets a chuckle out of everybody.
Everybody loves that,
and a lot of people like think about it or slow, really slow putt, slower than Stephen Hawking on a beach. Got to know your audience for that one. That's another really good one. The one that's been played out so much is, when the putt's moving, about a ball left to right. You say one ball left. The Lance Armstrong, the one ball left, I mean, there's so many old good ones.
I'll tell you the two that I love the best.
I know one of them.
Okay, well, the first one was the ball goes into the bushes. And the guy, I heard these both in the first time I ever carried bags. Or a bag, and that was in April of 1995. I'll never forget it. I remember the other two caddies I worked with. And the guy says, well, I find that, and he said listen, Lassie wouldn't find that if it was wrapped in bacon.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Which
that's
I
a
thought
good
was
one.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then the next one was don't go left. Oh no, trouble over there? Yes. That bunker has seen more balls than Elton John's chin.
That's pretty good.
You weren't expecting that one, were you?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a good one. Yeah. So
there's a lot of good ones out there.
Some good stuff there. So yes, do we have jokes? I don't know. Let me have a think about jokes. There's one about a guy playing golf with his wife. That's probably joke enough, but there is a good one. I'll find it for next time. Okay. I think this is the last question. It's from an Ibrahim, and he's in the United Arab Emirates.
Ibrahim. Shout out to you. Thanks for listening.
I took up golf 5 years ago, and just can't get enough.
Nice.
I love watching the DP World Tour.
Awesome.
Well, that's one person. And would love to travel more to play golf wherever I can. What's the most unusual location where you've played golf? Oof.
Unusual. I don't know if I've ever played in an unusual location.
That's not the last question, by the way. We have one more.
Okay.
Alaska. For me, Alaska. Playing with surrounded by glaciers was quite incredible. And it was a place called Palmer.
In Alaska? So was there no snow on the ground, though? You were like...
No. It was all up. It's just, there wasn't even, I wouldn't say it was snow-capped hills.
Gotcha.
There's glaciers. It's absolutely bananas.
I've never played in any weird spots, but I can imagine he's in United Arab Emirates.
Well, the way you shank the ball, you've probably played in some really weird places.
I've been in some weird places, that's for sure, and played it out of some weird places, but geographically speaking, no. Use your words. Geographically speaking, no. I nothing super strange. I've played in Hawaii. That's not that strange. Everybody plays golf in Hawaii.
I've never been.
Yeah.
So,
fun place to play golf.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
All of my mates are obsessed with how far they hit drives. When I watch professional golf, they seem to obsess with distance too. Do you think we will ever see a short hitter, in parenthesis, win another major tournament? That's from a guy called Paul in Sydney. Yeah, I'm guessing that's a ripper in Australia.
A real ripper?
A real ripper.
Define short. I mean, what is short as far as winning a major championship?
Well, I think what he's alluding to is the fact that the last, like when you look at who can win at Augusta, you can pretty much get rid of 90% of the field. There's about 8 people that will win that in that tournament, I think.
Yeah, a lot of truth to that. Yeah, length is important out there. It's super important.
When you look at, obviously this week's the US Open, I look at the odds and you look at about 8 people, literally.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see the likes of Ben Curtis, Todd Hamilton, John Van de Velde. I know he didn't win it, but he was the joker in the pack, quite literally.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to get guys like that. I think the game's moved on. Like we're seeing the odds in Scotty Scheffler this week are absolutely absurd. We haven't seen odds like that since Tiger in 2005 at St Andrews.
He's tough to beat, and Rory right now is in shambles.
But you know, like Scheffler hits it long. He's not as long as those other guys, but he hits it really long.
Really long.
But you start looking out with if you're not hitting at 320, I don't think like Xander Schauffele still hits it long.
Yeah, if you're hitting at 280, you got no chance.
No chance.
No chance.
I think in the amateur game, distance is ridiculously overrated. I think people are obsessed with it. The guys we caddy for are
super
obsessed.
Yeah.
And just in everything in general, you know, the distance. So I hit it. Number one, you don't hit your 7-iron that far anyway.
And you don't hit your drive 280, 290.
What would you say it was
drive
about
240?
89.64% of golfers don't hit their 7-iron as far as they think they do. Is that what you told me?
At least. Maybe 90.
90.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think we'll see a short hitter. Like
you ask the general public what they hit their 7-iron, like the people we caddy for what they hit. So you very rarely will hear under 160 when the reality is they very rarely hit it over 155. Very rarely hit it over 155. 170 we hear a lot. 180 we hear a lot. They hit it 170 one out of every 100 shots when they thin the shit out of it and it sails 170. But that's what they gauge it on. They say, you know, one time I hit it 170. You don't hit that club over 155. Get out of here.
Get out. As my that's almost like your tagline, isn't it?
Get out of here.
Get out here.
Get out of here.
I think if you go back through it, Trevor Immelman, he was a short hitter.
Mm-hmm.
If you Mike Weir,
Justin Leonard.
So yeah, no, I don't think we'll ever see somebody a short hitter win another major. So
very rare,
unfortunately. Okay, so as I say, if you want any questions, send them in on one of the social media platforms, or you can email podcast@glorifieddonkey.com. You can also go to the website glorifieddonkey.com. Buy the boys a beer.
Buy
Things have been dry. Things have been dry lately. Not many people supporting the cause.
Come on, boys and gals, get out there.
A little bit of fan mail. This was in Spotify.
Oh, nice.
This is good. Zabbo getting called out again. Monterey Pines is a dump golf course.
Huh?
Question mark. Zabbo need to get out more. Plenty of dumps out there, and MP, Monterey Pines, is likely the best value in California.
I didn't call it a dump.
Spending too much time at Bushwood Country Club, are we now? Whoa. So you must have called it a dump golf course.
I'm going to have to go back and listen. I find that hard to believe. Who sent this?
I don't know. I don't know who the people are. It's comments made.
Gotcha.
Keyboard warriors, which I love. But I'm guessing it's after response to what you said about you and Troy on your science
Probably
project.
that same caddy you won't mention that wants to play me on my Pinnacle. Yeah. Tell him to bring it.
Gordon, Zabbo, great to listen to all of these stories. Heard quite a few from Bruce, who Big G carried for to an 80-71 weekend you guys mentioned last October. Wow. I can't remember last week.
Yeah.
Great stuff, and hope to get out there soon. A hello from Virginia. And I
Hello.
think that I think that's from Jack. So
Okay.
Jack, new listener in Virginia. Shout out Zabbo. What you got?
Got to shout out Edwin. Got to shout out Kyle, Garrett, and Billy. I got to shout out this other group that I had that, sometimes we talk about nicknames. They had like 8 guys, 10 guys. They had the greatest nicknames I've ever heard in my life. And I got to shout out all of them. I got to shout out Sandstorm. Got to shout out Broga. Got to shout out Double D, Castro, Fredo, Huck, Stumps, El Jefe, Giddy, Cliffy, Kansas. And last but not least, I got to shout out Bleed. Can I tell this one real quick?
Go
Bleed.
for it. Yeah, fine.
So I'm like, I gotta hear the story. Like, Bleed, where do you get Bleed from? And he played, this guy's probably 75 years old. And he played college basketball back in the day, like Division I college basketball at this good school. Back when he was playing, there was a lot of bad blood between, whites and Africans Americans throughout the country. And all the black players across the country, I guess, at the time were called Bloods, and they called themselves Bloods. Well, the captain of his team called the team meeting, and he said, with all the black players and white players, he was the captain. He was a white guy, and he said, we got to come together. We got to stop this whole Bloods thing. This is stuff. And he's like, we got to think of something new to call us. And then one of the white guys was like, how about we just call ourselves Bleeds? And that's what they called themselves. So they called each other Bleeds. So this one guy, he stops playing basketball. He's playing pickup basketball, and they would call all each other, they would call them Bleeds. So you start calling these people Bleeds, these other people, and they're like, why are you calling me Bleeds? He's like, oh, sorry. That was a thing with my teammates back in the college. So they started calling him Bleed, and that's where his nickname stuck. So everybody calls him Bleed now. Pretty crazy.
I was hoping for something a little better than that. But,
Pretty funny, though.
I just want to shout out my boys from Arizona. Benny, Matt and Mitchell, the brothers, and Frodo Baggins. And then one last one. It's a Tim Book.
Tim Book?
Tim is a long-time listener, and he has twin sons who are now caddying at the resort with us.
Oh, twin. Yes,
Yeah.
I've known Tyler and
Trevor.
Tyler and Trevor.
No, Trevor and...
Oh, no, Tyler's his other son. Does he have 3 sons?
No idea.
No, gotcha.
Anyway.
Shout out to you, Tim. Glad you're listening.
Thanks for listening, Timmy. Zabbo, always a pleasure. Glad your feet are better.
Thank you. Feeling good.
Be back in a couple of weeks,
Couple of weeks. We'll be here. It's kind of a every other week thing.
Start making your notes about that episode of Interesting People we've met.
Ooh, I got one that just came to mind.
Love it. Excellent.
Actually, a million.
Have a great afternoon. Listeners, thanks for your continued support. Enjoy listening to the back catalogue. And until the next time, get out there, enjoy your golf, but more importantly,
Keep it humble.